Hey folks, Wayne Jennings here with another action camera review. Today I'm checking out this. It's the WOLFANG GA420. It's a 4K action camera with lots of unique features considering the reasonable price. It's got dual view screens, one on the back and one on the front, so it's great for getting selfies. You can see exactly what the camera sees. The camera itself is also waterproof down to a depth of 10 meters, so you don't need that housing unless you're going really, really deep. The other great feature is you can plug in an external microphone to get really good sound. The WOLFANG GA420 action camera features an iCatch V39 image processor, a Sony IMX386 sensor, and an all-glass fixed-focused wide-angle lens covering a field of view of 170 degrees. It is capable of recording video in resolutions of 720, 1080, 2.7K, and 4K, and still images in sizes from 5 up to 20 megapixels. Included with this camera kit are all the items shown here. Of course, you get the camera itself. It also ships with this waterproof housing for added protection. There are two rechargeable 3.7 volt lithium-ion batteries rated at 1,350 milliamp hours and a micro USB charging cable. There's an assortment of mounting straps, zip ties, and a metal lanyard. You get a nice selection of GoPro-style mounting hardware, along with two quick-release plates with extra adhesive pads. One of these plates is flat for level surfaces. The other has a slight curve to it for mounting on a helmet. You get a 2-button remote control. There's a USB plug-in external clip-on microphone, and an instruction booklet and a lens cleaning cloth. Now, before we get to some of the technical stuff, let's have a look at the video quality recorded by this little camera. This camera comes with this very rugged looking waterproof housing, which will enable you to take this down to a depth of 40 meters. So that's perfect if you want to take it scuba diving. However, you don't really need that for day-to-day use because the camera itself is waterproof to a depth of 10 meters. So you can take it snorkeling just like that, or if you're going skiing, or if you get caught in the rain, it's going to be nice and waterproof. Now, the front is dominated by the lens and a small view screen. I just want to mention that it comes with this little rubber lens cap, which is a great feature. I think all cameras should give you something like that. If you put it in your pocket, it's just going to keep the lens from getting scratched up. There is a small view screen on the front. I'll show you that in a moment. First of all, let's take a look at the bottom here. And we have a 1/4-inch tripod socket, and it's made out of metal. That's a nice feature to see. Beside that is the battery compartment door. And now to open that, you push this button and you slide it. And it is a bit stiff, but it's like that on purpose because there's this big rubber gasket in here. That just keeps the moisture out. And there's a metal hinge, so it's pretty sturdy. The battery slides in and out, and the micro SD card slots in beside it there. On this far side, we have another little door. I won't open this one, but behind, it's the same as this. You have to push the button and slide it. But behind there is a micro USB port for charging and an HDMI port for outputting the video. Above that, we have a little speaker, and it's, of course, waterproof. On the top of the camera, we have 2 buttons here. M for mode, and beside it is the shutter release and a tiny little microphone between the two. And on the far side is our power button. Just push that for a second and the screen comes on. It is a 2-inch touchscreen, and it's very responsive. It comes on to the video mode, but you can change it to photo mode, just by swiping from either side. So now it's in photo mode. Swipe it again, and it goes to video mode. That works from this side as well. Now, in this case here, we're in video mode. And you see on the bottom, it tells you we're in 4K 30. But if you want to go in and make changes, just hit this gear icon. And there's all kinds of changes. For instance, video resolution, 4K 30, but I can swipe it down to 2.7, 1080, 720. So you just find the one you want, select it, and it's all set to go. A lot of other changes you can make on this little camera. You can turn the audio on or off. There's a EV for exposure setting, electronic image stabilizer. You can do loop recording. There's a time-lapse feature on here. You can do fast motion and slow motion, wind noise reduction, put a date stamp on there. Then there's a sub-menu. If you hit this again, it goes down, and there's other things you can change, like the power frequency, turn the sounds on or off. This is a nice one, microphone. You can set it for the built-in mic, or you can plug in an external microphone. That's a really nice feature to have. You can set the white balance. There's special effects. There's a distortion calibration. There's a diving mode for taking it scuba diving. Set the date and the time. Screensaver, auto power off, language, and of course formatting the card. So lots of settings you can do. And in the photo mode here, similar settings, but slightly different, because photo mode, you would be changing the photo resolution. And there's things like you can set the ISO. There's a burst photo mode, time-lapse. You can do long exposures, self-timer, things like that. There's also a playback button. If you hit that one down here, it will load the video or the photos, and then you can hit the button, play them back. And let's go back to the main menu here. And as I mentioned before, oops, there we go, back to the main menu. There is a screen on the front, so it's great for doing selfies and things like that. And you just get that by hitting this M button. Hold it for a second, the back screen goes off, and the front screen comes on. So it's hard to see, but there's a shot of me down in the corner there. So that way, it's a great way to frame up me. I can get a shot of what's behind me, make sure my headroom's good, and it's just a nice way of composing your shot when the camera is pointing at you. This camera has an extreme wide-angle lens, and unfortunately it tends to distort the image sometimes. You notice behind me the horizon
It's higher in the middle and slopes down on either side. That's the effect of the wide angle lens. Now there is a setting on this camera called distortion correction. And when you turn that on, it tends to level out the horizon. So I'll turn that on right now and you can see the difference it makes. All right, so I've turned the distortion correction on, and as you can see from the horizon behind me, everything is a lot more level.
This camera also comes with a handy little remote control. If you push the white button, the camera will start recording video, and if you push the red button, the camera will snap a still photo. But for more control, you want to download the app to your phone. As you can see, there's the image that the camera sees. If I flip the phone sideways, you get a nice big landscape image. If I hit that red button, it'll start recording video. I can also shoot still pictures. I can make some changes there. I can go in and change the resolution or the for the videos or photos. There's also another button up here I can hit, which opens up a much bigger menu where I can change things like the white balance, the exposure. I can shoot slow motion, time-lapse, things like that. Close that. There's also a button on the bottom here. If you push that one, that will allow you to open up the photos and videos that are stored on the camera's memory card and send them to your phone so you can scroll through and see the various images and play them back.
Here's a little audio test. This camera has a built-in microphone. It also comes with an external plug-in microphone. Now I find the internal microphone is not that good. You got to get nice and close to the camera, speak in a loud voice in order to be heard properly. As soon as you move back, I find the audio gets really low. You got to shout in order to be heard. So that's not very useful. Fortunately, this camera comes with this plug-in microphone. It just plugs into the USB jack and you get much better sound. So I'm going to plug this in, and then you can hear how much better it sounds using this microphone. Now we're going to try the external microphone. It's plugged into the camera. I'm just going to clip it on my shirt. It's got a little tie clip there, and I don't have to raise my voice. As you can hear, it's much, much better sound. Comes with a cable that's about 1 meter long, so I can stand back here. The other big advantage to using this kind of microphone is I can turn my back to the camera and you're still going to get really good sound. You know, I could be turning around, I could be referring to something behind me and talking, and all the while, this microphone is going to record sound that you can really understand.
This camera does a really good job recording time-lapse sequences. You can set the recording interval at 1, 3, 5, 10, 30, or 60 seconds. Still photographs can be captured in sizes of 5, 8, 10, 14, 16, or 20 megapixels. There is also a burst photo mode, there's a self-timer mode, and a long exposure mode. Although this is an automatic camera, there are a few adjustments you can make, such as white balance. That can be left on auto or set to daylight, shade, fluorescent, or underwater. The ISO can be left on auto or set to 100, 200, 400, 800, 1600, or as high as 3200 ISO. Metering can be adjusted between center, multi, and spot, and the EV or exposure compensation can be adjusted up or down by 2 stops in 1-stop increments. This camera has a function labeled EIS. That stands for Electronic Image Stabilization. That's turned off right now. I'm just walking, holding the camera at arm's length so you can see what kind of shot you get. You'll just stop, turn the camera around. So I'll walk forward up this trail. That's with the image stabilization turned off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back, turn the EIS on, and you can compare the 2 shots. Okay, so I've turned the EIS on. I'm walking over the same terrain, holding the camera at arm's length, just like I did before. This time the image stabilizer is turned on. Again, we'll flip it around. Here's that same shot walking up the path with the camera looking forward. Definitely smooths things out a bit. and back to me. So you can see it does, help smooth out these kind of shots. And here are some samples of the slow motion footage captured with this camera. Now, the first scene here was shot at 720 at 120 frames per second. And this one also at 720, but the frame rate here has been bumped up to 240 frames per second. Shooting at 1080, this is what 60 frames per second looks like. And this is also a 1080 scene, but we're shooting here at 120 frames per second. And finally, here is a 4K scene shot at 60 frames per second. Well, in conclusion, I'm pretty impressed with the Wolfang GA420. I mean, considering its low price point, it has a lot of unique features, the dual view screens, the fact that it's waterproof, the fact you can plug in an external microphone. Those are all great reasons to buy this camera. And as far as the video quality, well, it's definitely not a GoPro beater. I mean, a GoPro is going to cost you 3 or 4 times as much as this camera, and you're going to get a lot more features and quality. But considering the price of this, just over $100, it shoots really good video, and most of your video is going to look pretty darn good.